Here's an express look at the waiver wire right now for you on FFT Express. It is week 11. Get some handcuffs if you, if you've locked up a playoff spot and you just want to, play it safe and not pick up a guy like Gus Edwards. No, I guess you can call him a handcuff. But anyway, get the Tyler Algiers of the world. Get the high upside handcuffs right now. I'll say that. I'll get that out of the way. Jamie, who else are we getting on waivers this week?
So you got Audric Estime and Gus Edwards at running back. Estime looks like he's going to be the starting running back for the Broncos for the foreseeable future based on what Sean Payton said on Monday and certainly what they did against the Chiefs, where he had 14 carries for 53 yards. And Javonte Williams had 1 carry and Jaleel McLaughlin had 2. So it seems as if they like Estime in that role. He just doesn't catch any passes. Gus Edwards also doesn't catch any passes, but he had 10 carries for 55 yards and his first came back after a 4-game absence with an ankle injury. He is a potential lottery ticket, as you alluded to, because of and any injury that happens to J.K. Dobbins, but he's one of these guys that's going to get work in tandem with Dobbins. And then the other running back would be Cam Akers because of the potential injury of Aaron Jones. As you alluded to on the full-length episode, it's Cam Akers, but still, given his role and opportunity in this offense, if Jones were to miss the game against the Titans, you'd want to have Cam Akers on your roster. So there's 3 running backs. You want me to keep going or just stop there?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, they're hopeful for Cam Akers, for Aaron Jones, but certainly nothing set in stone that he will play this week. So it's worth a look for Cam Akers. Now, I think another injury that's freeing someone up that you're seemingly kind of excited about is Dalton Kincaid's injury. And again, we don't know that he's not going to play, but Dawson Knox is your top tight end this week.
So you have 3 things happening here. You have the Dalton Kincaid injury to his knee. He left the game, came back wearing a brace, didn't feel comfortable. They may shut him down. They have their bye in week 12, so shut him down. May shut him down for the week. Even in a huge game, but clearly they have bigger aspirations, so they don't want to risk any further injury there. You have the 2 receiver injuries. Keon Coleman's not going to play in week 11, and Amari Cooper might still be out. So now you're looking at 3 pass catchers who could be missing for Buffalo against the Chiefs, and the third factor would be the Chiefs, who are number 1 in most fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends. So good matchup, good opportunity. Knox is definitely worth a flyer for at least 1 week.
Quarterback is fun this week. How much do you like Bo Nix and Russell Wilson?
I have them in my top 12. I would start them over, this is as of now, early rankings, over Tua, over Mahomes, over Geno Smith, over Goff, over Rodgers, over, trying to think of other names that matter. Stafford.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Would you start him over Justin Herbert?
No, so of the waiver wire guys, I have Herbert, then Nix, then Wilson.
And you like Nix better than Wilson because, well, actually, I don't know that I'm clear. Which one do you like better this week?
I feel a little bit safer about Bo Nix this week than I do Russell Wilson. Dave brought up a good point, and it's something I consider as well. Is this rivalry is typically a grinded out type of game, and I know these defenses, at least in the Ravens side of things, doesn't feel that way. But I also want to see, you got a little lucky with Russell Wilson in the game against Washington, because why Dan Quinn left him in that defense on the Mike Williams touchdown makes no sense to me, knowing how Russell Wilson was going to probably throw the ball. The George Pickens touchdown was an amazing catch by Pickens. Now, the thing about Russ that you like is he's giving his receivers chances to make plays.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't get these moon balls, you're going to have a bad day for him. And so Nix, I think, just based on what he does with his legs, I know he didn't run very much against the Chiefs. I was impressed with what he did against Kansas City. Going into Kansas City, they had that game won. He had 20 fantasy points. He's been basically 20 fantasy points or more in 4 of his last 6 games, and he's just doing a nice job. So I like Nix slightly better, but they're back-to-back. And then also, just in terms of if you're looking ahead, long-term, he's in a much better situation based on his matchups. He has a great matchup this week, too, against Falcons.
Okay, and I don't think we've talked about wide receivers, so why don't you give me some of your favorite wide receivers to pick up this week?
So I look at the Colts situation first, mostly with Alec Pierce as the number 1 guy to go get. That's if you can't find Jacoby Myers or Juwan Jennings or Cedric Tillman in shallower leagues available. Jerry Jeudy, Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Legette, these guys are all very similar, so not exactly going to get, I think, a lot of consistent production. Now that's saying something, because in 2 games with Jameis Winston, Jerry Jeudy's been consistent, but it's crowded receiving core. Schedule coming up is a little tough. I do think clearly the Colts are dependent on Michael Pittman, and for Pearsall, I think what we talked about. Dave had a great point. You like his offense and you like the quarterback he's tied to. And I thought your uh, joke non-joke was good in terms of he could be 5th on the team in targets and still be 1 target away from being best on the team in
Right.
targets.
Yeah.
So that's the type of offense he plays in. I just think if he doesn't have that great touchdown catch where he really stepped out of bounds,
No.
we're not as excited about Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, for sure. He obviously he can make plays. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, granted,
I'm not that excited. I'm with you. I'm not that excited.
He's 3 games into his NFL career after being shot. So like let's give the guy some credit. Like he's just learning the position and he does have a lot of upside. It's just a very crowded receiving core that tends to have like if this was everybody's healthy and this is Juwan Jennings. Now, granted, draft capital's different, because Pearsall's a 1st-round pick. We're not chasing Juwan Jennings probably as much as we're not excited about Juwan Jennings in the 3rd role as we are as Ricky Pearsall in the 3rd role. If that makes sense.
Yeah, Jennings has this sort of like Brandon Ayuk role.
No. What I'm saying is, if Ayuk's healthy,
and
Debo's
right.
healthy, and this is Juwan Jennings coming off this game, let's not forget 2 words: Tampa Bay.
And also, let's not forget that just a few weeks ago, Ricky Pearsall was kind of a hot waiver wire pickup, had a bigger opportunity in a game where Juwan Jennings didn't even play, and McCaffrey didn't play, and they never threw to their running backs, and he didn't really do anything. So I'm not really that excited.
I guess the flip side to that would be McCaffrey's going to open things up a little differently for the offense. So
maybe, but he's also going to take a lot of targets.
I don't think, I was a little surprised when Dave said that's his number 1 receiver to add. Just given like the volume that we could be seeing for the Colts guys and the Browns guys and the lack of volume for Pearsall. But look, he's in a great offense and he's a 1st-round pick. So hard not to get somewhat excited about it. But I think him and Leggett are kind of similar.
Let's take a quick break here. We'll come back and talk a little more waivers after this. And as I said on the show that we just did, running back has been rough, which is good. Like you don't want a good running back waiver wire. It means there are injuries. But this week we have 4 guys that get work, right? And there's Jalen Warren and Tajay Spears. I'm not saying all these guys are going to be available in your leagues. And then there's Estime and Gus Edwards. So these are not bad options there if you just need someone who's going to get touches. At quarterback, what do you think? What do you think about Jameis Winston this week?
I think he's going to have a good game against the Saints. I don't buy the Saints defense in terms of what their numbers are. I think he's going to come out and have the typical Jameis Winston type of game where there's not a lot of pass rush on him. Should be a healthy offensive line coming off the bye. Dave's point was 100% valid that this could be a Nick Chubb game, fresh legs, and he could, have sort of the celebratory game that we've been waiting to see for him. But I also think Jameis against the Saints is going to be something where Jameis, we've seen him change the plays at the line of scrimmage. We've seen him do some things that, are typical Jameis Winston. So I don't think he's going to have a Ravens game, 29 fantasy points, but I can see 20. You gave a good over-under, 18 points. I think he'll be slightly over that.
Okay. And then I think at tight end.
And Drake May's not bad, too. Rams are not a great defense right now. They did a good job in containing the Dolphins offense. I do think that if the Rams offense shows up, and Drake May's chasing points, plus what he'll do with his legs, he could be, north of 17 points. But we've seen him at that 17-point mark or less in 3 straight games. One of those he left, but he's not exactly been blowing the doors off like he did the first 2 games.
I think the tough call at tight end is, do you pick up Dawson Knox and drop Tucker Kraft or Mike Gesicki or Taysom Hill or Zach Ertz or Dallas Goedert or Hunter Henry, who are all owned in more than 70% of leagues, because you don't even know if Kincaid's going to miss the game. And then those other guys have cases to be made in their favor too. So, what's your take on that? How aggressive should we be with Dawson Knox dropping a Tucker Kraft or a Taysom Hill or a Zach Ertz or a Goddard?
It's long-term versus short-term, because no matter what happens with Dalton Kincaid, the Bills have a bye in week 12. So you're only getting a 1-week Band-Aid if you are starting Dawson Knox and Kincaid is out. So Kraft has not passed his bye. Goddard's passed his bye. I don't know who else you said there. Hunter Henry has still got his bye coming up. Taysom Hill's passed his bye. So it's just a matter of, I think, what you're looking at for your roster. If you can carry 2 tight ends, then I would keep those guys and add Knox if you need a starter for this week, because I do think, again, opportunity and everything that's involved with what the Bills situation is definitely in his favor.
That's Jamie. I'm Adam. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today Express.